I bet you didn't know about Joshua Lee Webb. He was 36 years old and lived at home with his mother and father because he had visual impairments. They helped take care of him. But on Mother's Day in 2017, things took a drastic turn. Joshua walked into the local grocery store carrying a severed head, with a knife in his other hand. He made the remark that he was thirsty and began brutally stabbing one of the clerks. An employee was able to restrain him until police arrived. Back at his mother's home, his sister, with her children, arrived, looking to celebrate Mother's Day with their mom. That's when they found her decapitated body lying on the floor, and the dog Joshua's parents recently got him, stabbed to death lying on the kitchen counter. So the head that he was carrying into the grocery store with him on Mother's Day belonged to his mom. For 24 hours, Joshua seemed to be in a catatonic state, when suddenly he sat up from the hospital's bed and said, "I had a great nap." According to his girlfriend, Joshua had been acting very strange. Apparently, he believed that she was injecting him with some strange substance, that Fox News owned him, and there was a strange black box in the garage recording him. He openly admitted to decapitating his mother, killing his dog, and stabbing the store clerk, all with the same knife. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and psychosis, and instead of prison time, he was put into a mental institution. His family argues, though. They don't think he should be in a mental institution. They believe he should be in prison for what he did to their mother. According to psychiatrists, Joshua didn't respond to medication either. He still kept having episodes of psychosis. He's being monitored and evaluated every 2 years to see if he is mentally stable enough to be released. But if he ever is released, he will be under strict watch by the state. I bet you didn't know these really bizarre things that have happened. One man by the name Corey Taylor, no, not this Corey Taylor, faked his own death to get out of a cell phone contract without paying a fee. It didn't work. There is a type of cheese with live maggots in it. They recommend while eating it you shield your eyes, because maggots can jump up to 5 inches out of the cheese while you're eating it. In 1993, there was a heavy debate whether or not a San Francisco police officer could carry his ventriloquist dummy with him while on foot patrol. Turns out he was allowed to. Sigurd the Mighty was killed by an enemy he had decapitated hours earlier. He tied the decapitated head to the saddle on his horse, and as he rode, the tooth grazed his leg, causing a lethal infection. Turns out the circulatory system is super long, like 60,000 miles long. If you were to take one adult human circulatory system and stretch it out, it would wrap around the earth 2.5 times. I bet you didn't know these really weird facts from history. The original name for avocados came from the Aztecs, and it translated to testicle. When homosexuality was classified as a sickness in Sweden, the Swedes protested by calling into work and saying they couldn't come in because they felt a little bit gay. Ketchup was originally sold as medicine. In 1834, it was used as a cure for indigestion. It wasn't even used as a condiment until the 19th century. Pope Urban VII banned sneezing. He said the act of sneezing was too close to sexual ecstasy. Benjamin Franklin was not trusted to help write the Declaration of Independence. They said they feared that he would try to sneak jokes into it. I bet you didn't know these very strange medical treatments from history. To treat cysts on your hands, They said that you could strap a bullet to it as long as the bullet had killed an animal, or by touching it with a dead man's hand. You could cure rabies with raw veal. In ancient Rome, if anyone was bitten by a wild dog, they were to cut the wound open, lay a piece of raw veal over it, then consume lime mixed with hog's fat, and then drink a mixture of boiled wine and badger dung. Hay fever used to be treated with that one bad substance that goes up people's noses. I don't think I can say it on TikTok. They would mix it directly into a spray and have the patient shoot the spray up their nose, and that would supposedly cure hay fever. They used to prescribe tapeworms. They said it was the easiest way to lose weight. It would be a tiny capsule containing a tapeworm. They said you'd take it and drop weight with no side effects. But that definitely wasn't true. If your eyes were swollen, you would take a live crab out of the ocean, pluck its eyes out, then throw it back into the ocean, and rub the removed crab eyes on the back of the neck. I bet you didn't know about Jesse Pomeroy. He was the youngest person in the history of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to be convicted of first-degree murder. From 1871 to 1872, there were reports of several young boys being led to remote areas and being viciously attacked by an older boy. These boys were beaten with fists and with belts, and in at least 2 of the attacks, a knife, leaving some of the victims scarred permanently. In 1872, his family moved to Boston. The attacks continued. Jesse was caught and arrested and was sent to a state reform school for boys. In 1874, when Jesse was 14, he was paroled back out to his mother, who owned a dress shop. After Jesse's release, a 10-year-old girl mysteriously went missing, and shortly after that, the body of a 4-year-old boy was found mutilated on a marsh bank. Jesse was immediately their first suspect. Upon investigation, the 10-year-old little girl's body was found in the basement of his mother's dress shop, poorly hidden by a pile of ash. Originally, the jury wanted Jesse to pay for his crimes by hanging, but because he was only 15 years old, they waived the death penalty. The trial went back and forth, trying to figure out what they needed to do. And finally, they decided that Jesse, who was 16 at the time, would be confined to life imprisonment. During his imprisonment, Jesse wrote poetry. He would argue with the prison, saying that he had legal rights for his poetry to be published. He also studied law very heavily and spent decades composing legal challenges to his sentence. He continuously requested for his case to be pardoned. He also made 10 to 12 attempts to escape. They frequently found tools in Jesse's possession that he was using to try and escape. At one point, Jesse lost one of his eyes. He tried to redirect a gas pipe in his cell so he could escape. The plan backfired. After a very long time in solitary confinement, in 1917, a district attorney fought for Jesse to be able to mingle with other prisoners. At first, Jesse rejected and said he would take no less than a pardon. He stayed there until 1929. By this time, he was an elderly man in poor health. He was transferred to a hospital for the criminally insane, where he died in September of 1932. I bet you didn't know these really strange laws throughout history. It's been illegal to marry a dead person since the 19th century in France. It involved necromancy, since having a child out of wedlock was very taboo at the time. If a woman was pregnant and her soon-to-be husband died in battle, they could be married through necromancy, so their child would not be born out of wedlock. In Victoria, Australia, it's been illegal to fly a kite since 1966. Starting in 1971, in the state of Minnesota, they made it illegal to chase a greased-up pig in public. During the ruling of Henry VIII, made a law that prevented men from having long beards, and those who had any type of beard had to pay taxes on them. The Witchcraft Act of 1736 made it legal to be a witch, but illegal to pretend to be one.